everybody, and welcome. Welcome to today's discussion. I'm super excited to bring my sister back. I affectionately call her my BCV, where we're going to talk about things that is going to help us. I believe so. I've had her here on the show before, and the information that you'll find today is going to be invaluable. Trust me, not only for yourself, but for your loved ones. And if you're new here, I am Danny of Natural LID. I am a social worker and an aromatherapist, and I combine the two to bring us information to enhance our overall quality of life and well-being. That being said, I'm going to bring on my special guest, Valerie Southall of Southall Agency. Again, she has been here before, and we're going to bring her on and get all these nuggets of good information that is going to help us in our life, financially and emotionally. And without further ado, I'm going to bring on Valerie Southall. Yay!
Hey,
Thank you for being here.
thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for agreeing to drop some nuggets here with us. Information you're going to provide today is truly going to be invaluable, I know, for someone. Okay. And with that being said, I'm going to ask you, I would normally introduce my guests, but you do it so eloquently. Could you tell us about yourself and why you are here today?
I'm Valerie Southall. I'm the owner of the Southall Agency. It's an insurance agency located in Flint, Michigan. Even though I'm located in Michigan, I'm actually licensed in 6 different states. And one of the things I really like to do is bring financial literacy to the masses. And so my website is southallinsuranceagency.com. You can get on the website and actually send me a message or even book a call with me.
All righty. Thank you for that intro. And that being said, you've guessed what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk about insurance and financial. We're going to touch in the realm of financial information for you to take for yourself again and for your loved ones. Okay. So thank you for that wonderful introduction. And we're going to get started. Let's see. So your experience and background in life insurance, right? And the audience is like, well, why are we talking about this? This is the month of March. This is the social work month. You heard me say that. If you watched any of my videos this month, and as social workers, we share wisdom. And if there's some information that I can provide that I feel will be a benefit to you and your overall well-being or your loved ones, I'm here for it. And I absolutely have the pleasure of knowing Valerie Southall and all that she knows. And I'm going to tell you, she's a bucket of information. And just one of those pieces, or a couple of those pieces of information I want to share with you here today in hopes that it'll enlighten you, inspire you, and move you forward financially. Okay. So that being said, Valerie, you talked about you're a life insurance agent, and you've been so for how many years now again?
Over 30. I got my life insurance license in 1987, actually. And so I have been licensed a very long time. And so one of the things that I really like about life insurance is that it gives your family stability in case something happens. But life insurance is not just for life. It's not just for death, but it's also for life. And so, that is a very important thing. So one of the things that when we talk, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
One of the things we talk about is like how life insurance can protect loved ones from financial instability after the policyholder passes, right?
Right.
And a lot of times when the policyholder passes, especially if the policyholder is the major breadwinner, if they have life insurance can be used to pay off debt. It can be used to fund their funeral expenses. It can be used to, more importantly, it can be used to replace that income. Okay. I know last time we talked, one of the things that you find out is that a lot of times more people spend more time planning for their vacation than they do planning for any type of end of life uh, issue that might come up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just talk about the first time I ever had to deliver a death benefit.
Okay.
It was a young family, husband and wife. He was in his 30s. She was in her late 20s. They had two little girls. I live in Flint, so he was working at the factory. We call the factory the shop.
Okay.
She was a teacher's aide at school, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he thought that his life insurance at work was sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about the life insurance that you have at work, it's usually either 1 year salary, or you can also pay to get maybe double that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not enough that if you have you have with a family, you've got house payments, you've got car payments, you've got bills. And so what I did was he had a shop insurance, and that was good, but we were able to, because they were young and healthy, actually quadruple his personal insurance.
Okay.
Okay, so a few years later, he's playing basketball with his friends in the park, has an aneurysm, and dies.
Wow.
The girls are, I don't think the girls were 10 years old at the time. I don't think they were 10 and 8 at the time. And so you got this widow whose husband
Right.
worked in the shop. She was a teacher's aide. That's a big difference when you talk about income,
Right.
right? And so I called her to let her know that she had her life insurance. They kept the policy in force, and she was going to get her death benefit. And she said the first thing she said to me was, "Valerie, I remember the first time you ever walked in my house."
Wow. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And so what we were able to do was we were able to use that life insurance to pay off their home,
Mm-hmm.
put some money away for the girls' education funds,
Mm-hmm.
and then put some money up for her in an investment.
Okay.
So not only so now it's easier to mourn when you don't have to worry about whether or not you're going to lose your house, or you're going to, how are you and your children going to make it? Is your quality of life going to be different?
Right. Right.
And we've been friends for years, and she actually retired from the school system. And we used to laugh as the girls were growing up. She said, "It sure is a little different when you go to work because you want to, not necessarily because you have to,
Mm-hmm.
because everything was taken care of."
Right. Right.
So that's one of the ways that life insurance is used as a tool. So in that one scenario, we were able to pay off debt, which
Mm-hmm.
was a mortgage on our house.
Mm-hmm.
It also put up, say, for the kids' future by putting up by putting up the educational funds. And then
Okay.
the girls ended up having to getting that money anyway, because they were such good students. They got full rights to scholarship. They got academic scholarships to college anyway. But that money was put up anyway, right? So then when they got ready to buy, now they're grown, they have their own. But that money now was used to, I know for the oldest one, she used that money to put down for her first house. See how,
Hey.
even though dad is gone, see how dad was still there to protect and provide.
Yes.
One of the ways that life insurance is used to protect loved ones from financial instability.
Yeah. So it gave the children a leg up,
It did.
in
And
essence.
it gave the children a leg up, and it brought a lot of stress off of the wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because she didn't have to worry about, well, where are we going to stay, or how am I going to replace that income? Because I know a lot of times when people buy homes nowadays, they use both incomes. It's a 2-income family, and they use both incomes. And if they lose an income, that's an issue.
Yeah, that's true. And that saying that, some people may argue, well, I don't believe in life insurance, or I feel like it's a racket, or I don't, I think they just take your money. It's not worth it. And why do I have to think about that? Or it's like, it may be like pulling teeth to get people to actually talk about it, because it's a topic that's not very popular. I mean, who wakes up in the morning and says, oh, let's talk about life insurance today?
Right.
Nobody.
Well,
But,
and
but,
a lot of
but
times,
yeah.
yeah, a lot of times people feel that way because they don't want to face death.
Okay.
But you don't. But you know, life insurance can be used to cover expenses in the event of somebody's death. But also, life insurance can be used to um, for investments too.
Okay. Could you
Right.
explain that for us?
Okay. So if a lot of times when people have children, right,
Mm-hmm.
they get a 529 plan. That's an educational plan. So you're saving for your kids for college.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you have to fill out the FAFSA form, which is the financial aid form
Mm-hmm.
for expected family contribution (EFC),
Mm-hmm.
they count up everything. They count up your savings. They count up how much money is in that 529 plan. They count up everything except for what's inside a life insurance policy. So
Oh.
what some people do is
What
that
they?
they overfund their life insurance, right?
Okay. Okay.
They overfund that cash value in that life insurance policy.
Okay.
But those assets are not asked for, so then they are not reported for FAFSA because they're inside the life insurance policy. Now,
Okay.
what they do sometimes, what people do is when the kids get ready to go to college, they take that money out and they pay for school. If you've got that kind of money, go ahead and do that.
Right.
Another thing they do is they leave that money in, and then if they take out a student loan, they use the cash values that have built up over time.
Mm-hmm.
And even when the kids are in college, right?
Okay.
The student that instead of they use that cash values to pay back the student loans.
Mm. Okay.
Okay. And then also, if you have a certain type of life insurance policy, one I'm thinking about right off the top of my head is Index Universal Life, but some whole
Mm-hmm.
life policies do too. You can also there's ways to fund those for your retirement.
Mm-hmm.
And see, most people think, okay, I have a 401k.
Mm-hmm.
A 401k is pre-taxed money that you
Mm-hmm.
use. And I believe in 401ks. I believe that you should fund them to the match. If you have an employee that matches your 401k, fund it to the match. But put the rest of that money that you were going to overfund into a policy. Let me
Okay.
tell you why.
All right.
Because the money that's in the 401k is tax deferred,
Mm-hmm.
which means that when you take the money out, you're going to have to pay taxes on it.
Yes.
Now, back in the old days when they first started doing 401ks, they were thinking that you were going to be older and in a lower tax bracket.
Mm-hmm.
The US is broke. If you don't believe me, go to usdebtclock.org and look
Okay.
at the debt clock.
She said
Okay?
debt clock. DEBT clock.
debtclock.org.
Okay.
And so what's happening now is they are increasing our tax dollars. Every time we turn around, we're paying more and more taxes. So you might not be in a lower tax bracket
Okay.
when you begin to take that money out of a 401k, right?
Okay.
But if you take a loan against what's inside of that life insurance policy,
Okay.
right? And especially like an Index Universal Life or Whole Life, one of the things that you get to do is you take a loan. That loan is not taxable.
Okay.
And that's the beginning of people. Have you ever heard about infinite banking or becoming your own bank?
Yes. Uh-huh.
That's the way you do that. So
Mm-hmm.
now, because your 401k, after a while, it's not the money that's in there that's going to run out. The taxable, because it's being taxed,
Okay.
you have to take a lot more out, and then that money is taxed. So what some people are finding out is that in their 80s, in their 70s and early 80s, because people are living longer, they've run out of money
Mm. So,
because of the tax implications.
wow. Put a pin in that, right? So go back to what we were talking about. Put debtclock.org across the screen for everybody to see what we're talking about. Tell us about the connection with that and what we do in investments, if you would.
Okay. So if you look at the debt clock is the amount of debt that the U.S. has.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see, right, I think right now we're at $34 trillion in debt right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll get a chance to see everything. I think every man, woman, and child in America right now, no matter what your tax bracket in, we're at $109,000 worth of debt individually. Even the
Okay.
new baby that just got born, $109,000 in debt. You're an American citizen, you got if you're in America, you're $109,000 of debt. Now, everybody who's in the U.S. doesn't pay taxes because of their some people are economically disadvantaged and they can't afford to pay taxes.
Okay.
So for every taxpayer, right? So that tax debt comes on to us as a taxpayer, right? So
Okay.
every taxpayer is actually $259,000 in debt, right?
Okay.
So it
Okay.
tells you how much America takes in and how much the debt is. Okay?
Okay.
And so if you are waiting for the government to help you in your old age, good luck with that.
So that connection between the debt clock and us, we should take heed to this information, because as you get older, there wouldn't be. Are you saying resources?
There's not going to be resources. They're automatic. There. When we were younger, at least I when I was younger, retirement age I think was 62,
Okay.
and then it became 65, and now it's 67. And
Mm-hmm.
they're talking about raising the retirement age to 70 now.
Wow.
Why are we doing that?
Okay.
Because because Social Security is going to run out if they don't.
Okay.
So you need to be able to take your money and I mean I'm a patriot. I love my country. I love me more. Thank you very much. And
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure that I have my resources are there for myself, and not only for myself, but for my legacy, for my grandchildren.
Okay. So to come full circle is that with this debt clock, there won't be any money for you as a mature adult in your later years to count on in order to assist you.
Well, the whole thing about the debt clock is it's just a way for you to look and see how much trouble the U.S. is in as far as debt is concerned.
Okay, and that should be important to us, because in our relationship, connecting
Yeah,
that.
because you have to realize, when they say, well, we just did a $1.2 billion budget, da 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 da. Somebody's got to pay for that.
Mm. And it'll come out of taxes, is what you're
It's
saying.
going to come out of taxes. It's going to come out of you. Rich people pay CPAs very good money so they don't have to pay those kind of taxes. They have tax regs. They have a whole bunch of other things.
Okay.
And then poor people are too poor to pay taxes. So if you're in the middle class, guess who's going to get hit?
I gotcha.
And so
Okay.
but you need to be able to take a look at it and see exactly where you are. And so you can actually use life insurance
Mm-hmm.
to structure a retirement that's tax free.
Okay. Gotcha. All
Okay.
right. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And so that's what you need to do. You need to structure a tax free retirement, because that 401k money is going to be taxed. And like they said, they thought years ago when they first came out with 401ks, you're going to be out, you're going to be retired, you're going to be in a lower tax bracket.
Okay.
But the way America is right now, that's not necessarily, you might not necessarily be in a lower tax bracket. The major people that are hurting right now with inflation are people who are on fixed incomes in retirement.
All right. Okay.
Steak costs twice as much as it did 4 years ago.
Right.
It
Right.
does.
So bottom line is, insurance is a way of buffering that.
It's a way of buffering that. So don't think about it just as death. What happens if you live? Also, certain life insurance products have what we call a living benefits.
Okay,
So
explain that.
say if something happens to you and you come down with a critical illness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, a critical or severe chronic illness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Part of that death benefit can be used while you're alive to help take care of yourself and your medical expenses.
Okay. Okay. And that's called living
It's
benefits.
called living benefits.
Okay. So, and that's important to have because we're talking about long-term care, perhaps
Yeah,
too.
you're talking about long-term care too.
So, and just to touch on that, long-term care um, is very expensive.
Very expensive.
If you can shed some light on the cost parameters for long-term care, statistically.
At the moment, I don't have them right at my tip of my finger,
But
but
even personal experience. Yeah.
let me tell you, the cost of like I said, my father recently passed away in 2022. He was on hospice,
Okay.
and we took care of him at home.
Mm-hmm.
And but every once in a while, you needed somebody to come in because you have to go to the doctor, you have to run these errands, you have to do certain things,
Right.
and the
You need
cost.
a respite.
Right. The cost of the one day for that caregiver was $672.
For
One
one
day.
day. Wow.
So,
Okay, so if we're putting this into perspective, I gotta put this in the chat. 600, you said $672?
that was for one day.
Wow. Wow. One day.
One day. That's why you have a lot of elderly people who end up on not just Medicare, but Medicare and Medicaid because they've actually spent down they spent down their assets.
Okay.
They think they had a lot of money, but that's a lot of money to try to come up with.
And that's 672. If you were depending on that for 5 days a week,
Right.
that's a lot of change.
That's a lot of change.
We're gonna round that up to 700 to make the math easier. So
Okay.
700 times 5 is $3,500 if you're just doing it Monday through Friday.
Right. That's a week.
That's $3,500, not including the weekend.
Right. Not including the weekends.
Multiply that by 4. If you were depending on someone to come into your home to help with that. So
Right.
that's yeah, that's a lot of money.
It's a
A
lot of
month.
money. Right. And so that's why it's good if you can get a permanent life insurance that has living benefits
To help pay for that.
to help pay for that.
Okay.
You know.
Because not
So
everybody has the luxury of being able to be at home when a loved one is in need of care.
right.
Everybody doesn't, to have that. And you might be still working and you might need that help. But if you're trying to do it yourself, you can get caregiving burnout because you still need to take care of yourself.
You do. You really do.
And, so hopefully you have family perhaps to help you. But if not, and you need someone to come in looking at the numbers realistically.
Right. And so my even for long-term care insurance, as well as because I'm life and health licensed, I just haven't really been putting more of my time on. I've been putting more of my time on the life side, but I'm licensed to sell long-term care. I just need to put more time into it. The younger you are, the less expensive it is. But that's for all insurance. The younger you are, the less expensive.
Yes. And you mentioned that because part of my background as a social worker is a certified financial social worker, and they talk about all different components of life. And for those who I get a chance, an opportunity to talk to about, I would encourage get life insurance while you're young. Because you can give a better example than me. It's just cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
When you get a policy when you're 32, even 32 compared to 52.
Right.
Okay. If you wait till you're 52, that policy could double or be out of range or out of reach for what you're willing to pay for in this stage in your life. But when you're 32, if you could give us an example about that.
Oh yeah. Like like when you're younger, it's a lot less expensive, right? And you're healthy. So one of the things that when you're thinking about life insurance, you have to take all these things in consideration. You have
Yeah.
to take in consideration your age. You can take into consideration your budget. You have to take into consideration your health,
Mm-hmm.
and your health can actually turn on a dime. One car accident can change your whole life in 24 hours. And so these are the things that you have to look at. I just did this morning, actually, I did a quote for an older person for final expense, which is
Mm-hmm.
a type of permanent life insurance. And, this person is in their 70s, right?
Okay.
And for $10,000, which would have cost like $15 or $20 for a 20-year-old, right, was 78
For $10,000.
for $10,000.
And that's not a lot of money in perspective. I mean,
It's
$10,000 is more than some people have seen, but in
right.
overall
And the
perspective,
only reason, we can't got to the $10,000 is because right now, um, the average um, funeral cost is between 8 and 12.
okay, and that's with the regular,
That's just with
um,
the yeah,
with service and help me out with the word entombment and all that sort of
right.
stuff. You're going to do the whole thing
If you're
like
gonna do
that.
the whole thing, right,
Okay. Okay.
between 8 and 12. So we sold on 10, which is right in the middle.
Right.
And so and but she was a little shocked, but she was older and she had some health problems. And that comes into
Play with health
play
insurance.
when you're dealing with that.
Yes, and I firsthand experience people going through shopping for life insurance and what have you, which brings me to my next subject. Val, you had a posting, and Val can also be seen on, was it TikTok or Facebook?
TikTok. I think I
TikTok.
have TikTok and I have a Facebook page too.
Okay, let me put that on there as well. What is your Facebook page? Is it southhallagency.com?
Agency. It's Southall Agency. Mm-hmm.
Okay, South Hall Agency,
Mm-hmm.
everybody. And let me put that down in here. But you had a post, and share what that post said while I'm doing this.
Oh, about the MIB?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So there's something called the MIB, Medical Information Bureau.
Okay.
And that's the health insurance bureau that all of the insurance companies in the US and Canada use for underwriting. So if you apply with one company and you got declined, all the companies know it.
Okay.
Number two, you need to know what's in that file. We always say,
Did I get it right? South Hall Agency.
yeah, not .com for
Just
Facebook.
South.
It's called
Okay.
agency.
Okay. All right. Uh-huh.
But you need to know what's in your medical information in your MIB report, just like you do for your credit report once a year. You need to pull your MIB report. You need to see what everybody else is seeing,
Okay.
and what the underwriters are seeing and saying about you. In case there's something that's not right, you can also be able to, just like you dispute with your credit report, you might need to dispute with your MIB.
Now, how many people, let's be honest, for those who watch it, the replay of this, watch it, how many people knew that there was such an agency or such an entity that it's, in other words, it's not necessarily publicly known?
Right. And so go to MIB.com and request your report. like my good friend did.
Yes, I did. And thank you for sharing. I'm going to put that up on the screen. We're going to add that. So it's MIB.com.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I saw her post, y'all, I was like, oh, let me let me go to this website. So I did get mine in the mail, so everybody knows. And what they do is they give you a nice little thick packet of papers that tells you insurance company information, like if you apply for insurance and the name of it, and if you currently have an insurance policy, any inquiries about it, and it's free. And I got it in the mail for 3 to 5 business days, I want to say, not including the weekends,
Mm-hmm.
and just invaluable information. Invaluable information.
So check your MIB. Check your MIB every year, just like you check your credit report.
And that would be important to know what's out there and what information they have about you as it relates to your health and health insurance, right?
Your health, and not just health insurance, your life insurance,
Not,
health
I
and
mean,
life.
life insurance, right?
Both, all the insurance companies use it. So yeah, and my thought is this: if there is any information out there on me, I need to have a copy of it. I need to know what's in the ether, what's being said about me.
Right.
If they know, even when I was in corporate America, and I always had jobs that you had to have like background checks for.
Okay.
I do a background check on myself even before I go in and do an interview. I need to know, just in case, something comes up. And like, my name is Valerie Southall. I found out by doing a background check that there are 16 Valerie Southalls in the U.S.
Okay.
And we spell our first and last name exactly the same. The only thing that's different is our middle initial.
Okay.
Somebody might be out there with just like you, but they might not, they may be a little shady or a little this, or you need to know. You don't need to be mistaken for someone. And so I bought a house once and got ready to go and sign you sign the mortgage. I call it sign your life away. You know how thick it is.
Right.
And they had the wrong one. The middle initial was wrong. I said, I'm not signing that. But we could just redo that paperwork. Redo it all. Because I happen to know that particular one lived in South Carolina at the time. And I was like, no, because I didn't know from a legal standpoint what could happen,
Exactly. And if I'm not mistaken, when you're signing those documents, you need to sign it as is on the documents itself.
Right.
So you would have to have signed just the way it was written, Valerie, whatever initial they put on there, just the same way. And just crossing it out and changing it, you have to do that paperwork over.
It has to be done over. And I was adamant. I was like, you want to close today or not? If you don't want to close today, it's fine. I don't have a problem. I can get up and you know how that is. You've got realtors, and they've got, people, mortgage brokers and realtors who want their commission. They fixed it. Because I wasn't signing it. So yeah, that's just me. Bubblegum gospel. This is just me. If there is anything out there on me, I need a copy.
Right. I understand. I totally understand. And so with that being said, again, we encourage you, if you've never thought about it, never heard about it, let us know in the comments, but get your report. It is free.
It is free.
Get your free report. I didn't put that on the scrolling sign, but
when they go to MIB, like you did, when they go to MIB.com, they'll tell you that it's free.
Yes. And they, ask you a series of questions. And like I said, they send it to you. And at least you have an idea of what is out there. Because I never heard of it. I was like, oh, what is this? It's not something that's talked about. And even when you're applying or researching or through your job or anything like that, those three letters never come up. Not from my experience. I mean,
Right.
there be individuals such as yourself who educate the public about this, but in general, never heard of it. Never heard of it. And I'm of the component that you need to share information with people. Let them know. Let them make an informed decision
Right.
about whether or not what avenue that they want to go to. I always say, let them know the rules of the game, and let them know, and let the public decide whether or not they want to play.
Exactly. Let me just say one other thing. When you talk about the death benefit for life insurance, usually, I have not heard where it has not been, but usually it is, the death benefit is tax free. So you're giving that money to your beneficiaries without being, it's tax free.
Okay.
That life insurance proceeds are not taxed.
Okay.
Whereas if you have like money in your, and you should, your money in your 401k or whatever retirement, you should always name a beneficiary for those. But there might be some, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a life insurance agent, but there could be some tax implications. So say if you have a $500,000 life insurance policy, that's the base amount, right, for death benefit, and you pass away, your beneficiary will get that $500,000.
Okay.
Tax free.
Okay. All right.
We like tax free.
Yes, we do. And I thank you for sharing that. You said something important there I wanted to touch on and did not want to forget to share. Something I heard recently, well, you've been talking about it, but it came full circle. I was like, yep, I've heard of that. When you a beneficiary, so we're pivoting a little bit here. We're talking about people who name a beneficiary, have a will, etc. It's important. You mentioned about if you have a will to file it where? Could you tell our audience?
You need to register it with the probate court.
Probate court. Your county probate court.
Your county probate court. I live in Genesee County. It's just a little card. I don't know. I don't have it with me. It's just a little card. I put it's in one of my TikTok videos. I put it up there, one of my TikToks. But it's just a card that you fill out when you register with your probate court. It's your will. You fill that out, and it's registered with the probate court. So then that way, when your loved one, whoever you put in charge comes into probate with the death benefit and their copy of your will, the probate court people will go out back and say, oh, yep, we have that copy. This is the latest copy, so that you can go on and go right along and get started with the probate.
So you avoid all that probate waiting and
the probate knows you're right. Well, you avoid not finding the will, or we don't know where the will is, or is this the latest copy of the will? Every time you update your will, go ahead and file it with probate.
Okay. File with your county, with your county probate.
Your county probate.
Okay.
It keeps it down. It really does. Because also, when you have a copy of your will, don't lock it in your safety deposit box. Put it somewhere else. The reason I say this is me. Okay, this is me. Is because when you pass away, your safety deposit box might not be accessible to your beneficiaries at the time.
Okay.
If their name is not on your accounts and you don't, because those things are sealed up until things go through probate. If the inside the safety deposit box, so you need a copy I mean, you can keep a copy of your will inside the safe deposit box if you want a copy, but there should be another copy that's accessible outside of the safe deposit box, and really to keep all confusion down. Um, it's best to register it with the probate court.
And again, the reason for that is so that you can go there and do what you need to do. There's
Right.
no, moving
Exactly.
forward. And with
Exactly.
and so without, we're not trying to give legal advice or anything like that, but without that, and you're trying to conduct the deceased's business afterwards, you're gonna have to go through probate, and it's more cumbersome, is what I'm trying
This
to
is
say.
a little bit more cumbersome.
Mm-hmm.
It's always good, best to have everything above board.
Mm-hmm.
Just straight on. I know, and I was raised by my dad was very much his. I'll be nice. I'll take one of the P's out. But his thing was prior proper planning prevents poor performance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like that. He was
Okay.
89 when he passed away.
Okay.
But when my grandmother passed away, I think my dad was 67,
Okay.
and so we started meeting. Dad and I started meeting, and he told me, because he said, "When I go, you're in charge." And
Okay.
so we started meeting like once a year. And then when he turned 70, we started meeting twice a year. When he
Okay.
turned 80, we started meeting every once a quarter,
Okay. Uh-huh.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew what my marching orders were. I knew where everything was. When he passed away at 89, I knew what my next moves were. And we
Okay.
were talking like the week before he passed away, and he was running me through my paces yet again. You know what? Don't forget what this is. Don't forget what that is. My paperwork for this is over here. This is over there.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
and the great thing about that, he was a veteran of the Korean War.
Okay.
A lot of military honors at his funeral.
Okay.
And when I went to the funeral home, we were getting everything together, and I said, "Well, my dad really wants military honors," and they said, "Well, we're going to have to go to the Department of Veteran Affairs because there's certain paperwork that you're going to need." And I went into my satchel that he had, where he kept everything, and I said, "You mean these papers?"
Mm-hmm.
And the funeral director looked, and it was like, "Yeah, we're just going to make a copy of these because these are exact papers." They were his discharge papers. His
Mm-hmm.
got in from the 1950s, but he had them,
Right.
you
Right.
know. And so he just when things are in order, they just go very much more smoothly. Because you don't want family chaos. You don't need chaos at a time when somebody passes away. When a person passes away, it's very emotional.
Yes.
It's a very emotional time. So you don't want the loved one, you don't want the spouse trying to worry about, okay, not only is my loved one passed away and I have to figure out how we're going to pay for this funeral, how am I going to pay for the house payment? You know, utilities now. You know, you want all of that to be smooth, and let your family figure out how they're going to live without you, without having all that added pressure. You don't
Yeah.
want to leave added pressure.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you made me think of an example not too long ago, actually. Um, on my spouse side of the family, one of the family members, the husband passed away, and he was the financial person of the family. So he handled everything. She was in such a, you know, I won't say, for lack of a better word, tizzy, so to
Yeah,
speak, because she did not know what to do. But fortunately, family members stepped in and said, walked them through that process. But because he had enough life insurance to carry them through those first couple of months, she was able to take that time to put things in order. Like, okay, we've we're grieving, we've handled his burial. Now let's focus on how we're going to live every day. But for if they had not had that money,
right.
and he was the sole breadwinner, then
Yes,
where would she be?
Right.
So,
Exactly.
yeah, I thoroughly understand that and the importance of it. And is it always perfect? No, it's not. But having nothing in place, right, causes more of confusion or can cause more confusion and chaos than what necessarily has to be.
Yeah. I always say life. Well, one person I heard this saying the other day. He said, car insurance you can use, homeowners insurance you may use, but life
Okay.
insurance you will use. You will use your life insurance.
Okay. Okay.
you know, because you will. It was so funny. Sunday, I was going to go to run an errand. I
Mm-hmm.
walked out of my house, and my driver's side rear tire was flat as a pancake.
Okay.
And I was like, man, and it's Sunday, so nothing's really open.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, I think I bought a fix a flat kit a couple of years ago.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So I opened my trunk. I said, I think I kept it in the trunk. So I opened the trunk, and in the back of the trunk, over on the side,
Mm-hmm.
was the kit.
Uh-huh.
It had the slime in it. It had an air compressor that you plug into the lighter to blow up the tire.
Uh-huh.
I put that slime in there. I put that air compressor on. I blew up that tire to that 32.
Yeah, yeah.
And then yesterday I went and to the tire place and got it permanently fixed. But what would have happened if I had not bought, 2 years before I bought this,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
if I had not already had it?
You just have to wait to try to cost.
It
Try to,
so inconvenient.
yeah.
That's like life insurance. It was like, because I bought it and I put it away. I was like, okay, well, yeah, I'm going to need it. I put it in my trunk because I knew if anything happened, that's why I got the tire fixed thing. It's in the
Right.
trunk.
Right.
Not knowing that I was going to have to use it.
Yeah.
But it was there. That was
Yeah.
the thing. And I was like, thank you. Thank you, Father. Because it was there. It was already there.
Right. Right.
You know?
So the point being is it's for the just in case. This is
Mhm.
for you're going to need it at some point. So have something in place. And if not for that, have a plan in place is what we're saying today, right?
Yes. Yes.
No.
You definitely need a plan in place. I know some of the things that people say, some of the things that I hear,
Mm-hmm.
oh, life insurance is for old people. No, life insurance is for everyone. You could go in any time. It's best to, as like we said before, it's best to have get life insurance when you're young and you're healthy. Then I hear, well, I don't have any children and I don't have a spouse and there's no reason I don't have any descendants. I don't have anybody there, so I shouldn't. No, but you still have bills. Something happens to you and you pass away, you're still going to need to be buried or cremated, or your remains are going to have to go somewhere, right? You still have legal obligations that need to be taken care of. Handle that. Sometimes people say, a third one I would get a lot is, like I did with the young family. I have life insurance at work. I have life insurance on my job. Well, is it enough to cover everything?
And it changes.
If you lose your job,
Mm-hmm.
you lose that life insurance.
Yes.
So,
yes, absolutely. When in some places it's not portable.
mm-hmm.
It's not, you can't just, if it was $50,000 on the job, once you separate from that job, it might not be $50,000, and then you might need to convert it to something else.
Mm-hmm.
If you're eligible. So having that job is a key thing that binds you or holds you to having that policy. But sometimes it's not what you call portable, right?
Right. Right. Because you might not lose the job. You might retire from the job,
That too,
but
right?
the retiree's life insurance could be 1/10 of what you had when you were on the job.
Absolutely, and that's worth looking into, to ask your human resource person if you didn't already know, because you might be thinking, "Oh, I have this, and I'll still have this." Not necessarily so. You
Nope.
may be surprised, like, "Oh, okay," you might even have to pay more to take it with you.
That too.
So, and with that being said, they have what they call conversion policy. Are you familiar with that? Could you share?
Yes. Okay, so a conversion policy is like, say you have some term insurance,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you're able to convert the policy to a more permanent insurance, like a whole life insurance, without having to go through the medical again.
Okay.
Another reason for you to get your insurance when you're young and healthy, um, so that you don't have to go back through their medical. And so,
Okay.
yeah, the conversion is because don't forget. Okay, I'll say it this way: term insurance is almost like car insurance. It's your insurance for a certain amount of time to cover a certain amount of things. You may or may not use it. If you don't get into an accident with your car insurance, you pay for it and it's done after a certain amount of time. Same thing for term insurance. Term insurance could be for a debt that had be able to cover a debt that for a certain period of time. So say you bought a house. Say you have a mortgage, right? If that mortgage is 15 years to 30 years, you get enough term insurance to cover that. So in case you pass away before the mortgage matures and you pay it off, then if something happens to you, that which is what happened to that young couple, they were able to pay off their house. The wife was able to pay off that house and she was good, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no savings in there, but when you're young, sometimes and you don't have a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
that's okay because you're covered.
Mm-hmm.
But then, whole life insurance or more permanent insurance, right, is the one that has a cash values. That's the one you can borrow from. And the great thing about those are it grows. The cash value grows with at a certain rate of interest. You get to borrow from the cash values, pay it back if because you want to use it like a bank.
Mm-hmm.
but you but you don't have to qualify for that loan.
Okay.
If something happens and you have an emergency situation and you've got that cash value in there, you can go to that cash value and get the money to cover that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Pay it back though, because who knows when you have another situation later on. But that's what happens with the infinite. That's what happens with the be your own bank kind of
All
thing.
right. But you were talking about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and life insurance is a way of being just that. So it's you know we talked about some of the people say, oh, it's not important, but wouldn't it be advantageous just to look into it, to even see if that's something that could benefit you? It can benefit you, but just to look into it, just to
Yeah,
consider it, as opposed to not and needing it. What does it say, the expression?
it's better
Better to,
to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
yes. And the
Because
more, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
no, because really and truly, people say, well, um, you shouldn't. Another thing, you shouldn't have life insurance on children because children don't produce an income. Let me tell you something. If your child passes away, the little caskets cost. They don't have a price reduction just because the casket is small. The little casket costs just as much as the big casket. Again, I say most funerals cost between $8,000 and $12,000. Okay, how many people have an extra eight, $10,000, $12,000 just lying around just in case one of their children, you know, God forbid, something happens to one of their children, and they have to bury that child. So now you're going through grief of a parent of losing their baby and
Mhm.
having to bury that baby, and then not to be able to have enough money to do it, that is that is really heavy.
It
When it
is.
and it doesn't cost that much to
Mhm.
have insurance on your children. It doesn't.
Right. Right. And you never think, and you don't want to think about that, but it has happened, and it's happened, in all families, you
Hmm.
know, where something happens and then there is no money to bury. That's when we sort of look into um, maybe GoFundMe pages or uh, things of that nature in order to. I'm not knocking it, or anything like that, but then you're dependent on the mercy of other people.
Right. Depending on the mercy of other people, when you should have planned, and you could plan to have it taken care of, right? Or on another note, right? Say the baby, nothing happens to the baby. The baby grows up and gets ready to go to college, needs a little help to get into that school.
Hmm.
Nice to be able to go to that cash value, take out that money to help that baby go on to college.
Right. And that's what you were talking about earlier, overfunding it in order to
Hmm.
have money there. And
Right.
those little tips and stuff like that is very helpful, right? But who would have thought and who would have known, that that was a strategy? If you didn't know or didn't know who to ask, or
Right.
nobody told you that, life insurance policy isn't something they look at for your FAFSA, the
Right.
financial aid. So
Hmm.
you just never know, and it's good to have someone such as yourself to talk to about those sorts of things. I want to bring home one more point before we wrap up here.
Okay.
You mentioned about and you have mentioned this before, experiences like with funeral expenses. There is You don't necessarily have to go with all the expenses that the funeral home says that you need to go with, right?
True.
Could you talk a little bit about that? And do you consult with people about that, or do you share that information? I don't want to put you on the spot, but
We can have some conversations. Um, but it's, I mean, a couple of things. So there are, you can, well, you and I've talked about it. There are
yeah.
donations. You can donate the
Hmm.
body to science if you don't have the money to bury, right? You can, you can also do cremation if that's,
Hmm.
like one of like my father, you even have the money for the funeral, but you know, people of a certain age say, "Don't put all my money in the ground." Why are you putting? Because it's a very emotional time, right?
Hmm.
And yeah, in mortuaries are morticians are salespeople, and you're at a very, oh, this is a okay casket. You got this 22 gauge, but you got this mahogany over here. Wouldn't they like to be? And you're in a very highly emotional state. Let's sit down and do a budget first. Let's figure out what can and cannot happen.
Hmm.
They have, they do have places where you can order caskets, and the mortuaries have to, at least in Michigan, have to accept that.
Okay.
That's a lot less expensive. So yeah, usually I'm the person in my family that if somebody passes away, I'm the person who gets the call, and I'm not emotional. I mean, even with my father, but my father had already schooled me. Number one, you know,
But that's rare. It can be rare. I don't
yeah,
want to speak for everybody. That
right.
your father, he prepped you, like you said, prior proper planning prevents poor performance.
Hmm.
And so he prepped you. He
Right.
he he preps you for that moment so that when it came time, all your ducks was in a row. You knew what to do. You knew how to handle things. And but that's what I consider ideal situation where you don't have to think about it, it is already laid out for you.
Yeah. One of the things that I do, and people can get in touch with me, I actually hold a seminar, or I can do a talk. It's called Securing Your Legacy.
Okay, securing your leg. And how do they find you for that?
I'm southallinsuranceagency.com.
Okay,
You can send me.
securing. It's called securing your legacy. What are you calling it?
That's the name of it. Like I just did one at the Flint Public Library last Saturday, and I it's the whole video presentation. I did it with my sorority as a Facebook Live. So if somebody wants to get in touch with me, so for me to do that with your organization or
Okay.
your church or whatever, I
Okay.
will do that, and we go through all of the different things, all the important papers and why you need them and where you need them and how you can get them and that whole thing. So it gives
Okay.
people a chance to at least know what their ducks are,
Okay.
you know. And people who actually, I'm licensed in the states of Michigan, Iowa, Ohio, South Carolina, Florida,
Ah,
and Texas. And so if you're in any of those states, um, you can get in touch with me, and because I even have an important papers checklist
okay.
that once after we finish your our talk, that I will send you, so that you can, begin to get that paperwork in a row.
Awesome. So this is a free download, is what you're
Yep,
saying?
it's a free download that I give to anybody who sits down with me, and we have a discussion about what to do.
What's the name of this again?
My important papers checklist.
My important papers checklist. Okay. Important papers
It's called
checklist.
Yep, it's called important papers checklist.
Okay.
Because people need to know, if something happens to you and you pass away, or even if you're incapacitated, right? There's certain, and you can't speak for yourself.
Okay.
They need to know what that paperwork is. They need to know what the paperwork is. They need to know the location, any passwords that might be password protected.
Okay.
So yeah, so get on my website, and send me a message, and I'd be happy to sit down, and we can have that discussion, and you can definitely get that checklist.
Okay. My important papers checklist. So, Minta, so that download will be available in the description.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and after of this video, so that you can download that and have that and share that, you know, share it with family. Don't just keep it to yourself.
Well, the way I really like to, because I really need to explain to them how to use it.
Okay.
Tell them just to get to, southallinsuranceagency.com,
Okay.
make an appointment with me, and then we'll have our discussion, and then I'll be happy to give it to them. But they need to know how to use it.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. So the important piece here is to make an appointment with you so they
Make
can.
an appointment. It doesn't cost you anything to talk to me.
Nope. And when you're getting this free advice, it's truly invaluable, because sometimes when you go places, perhaps, but not all, you might not get those, little tidbits of information that you need. And Valerie is really good about that, sharing the information that you might not even thought about, right? That you needed, which is super helpful. And because you just never know. You never know when this information can help you, or helps a loved one, a friend, or somebody. And that in and of itself, knowledge, what you say, knowledge is power, right?
Yes.
And when you know a thing, you do better, and it just helps overall, right? I want to also mention on TikTok, that's where you have a lot of your postings of information. So
Right.
on TikTok, your name, your handle on TikTok is what again?
It says Make Money with Valerie C.
Make Money with Valerie C. Okay.
Valerie C. C is in cat. That's my middle initial.
Oh, okay. On Tik, make sure I'm spelling TikTok right, y'all. I'm like, is that how you spell TikTok? That how you spell?
TIKTO. Yep, that's the way you spell it.
Okay, make money with Valerie C on TikTok. Watch all the gems that she have. Because how often do you share this information?
I try to share something at least 4 times a week. I'm trying to get better and share something every day.
Uh-huh.
But right now I'm up to 4 times a week. So you get something new.
All right, y'all. So make sure, like we talked about earlier, get your MIB
MIB.
in the mail for free. So that's a free nougat here. Make sure that you contact Valerie to make an appointment, right? To get some
Right.
consultation. And you also mentioned about your download, right?
Right. Well, they'll get that when they make the appointment.
When they make the appointment. Okay. So you'll get the free download when you make the appointment, people. All right. And follow her on TikTok to get gems of information. And all righty. Well, I thank you so very much. With that being said, is anything that you want to leave with our audience today as a final word? Is in this month of March, and we're sharing wisdom and social work. And
well, good. So March is a month of social work and sharing the wisdom. And April is the month of financial literacy. It's financial literacy month, and so just get everything in order.
Yes,
that's the main thing, because tomorrow's not promised to anybody, and you're gonna leave loved ones behind who love you. Let's not make a strain on our loved ones. Don't let them be missing us and mad at us because we did not have our stuff together.
Understood. Yes, most definitely. No laughing matter, but absolutely understood. It does make it a whole lot easier when things are in order. You could, and when that time comes, you don't have to be frustrated with trying to get things in order. So,
and being worried, you've been through it too. When you're grieving, it is such a stressful time. And anything that we can do to make our loved ones ease a little better, because let's face it, we're going on. We're not feeling anything. We are going on to our next chapter, however you believe that works.
Right.
But there are people that are left behind, and you don't want them. Like I said, it's hard to be grieving and worried about if you're going to lose your home, if the kids are going to have enough to eat, or any of that, right? Due to lack of planning. Like I said, some people spend more time planning for their vacation than they do planning for their estates in the inheritance that they're going to leave for their family. And we have to do better, people. We really do, because it's like I said, you don't want them to be missing you and be sorrowful and mad at you too.
Trying to find stuff, and where is stuff, and
right, when they have everything, right? When you have everything. And let's face it, if you are able to, like I said, for term insurance and mortgage protection especially, if you can pay out, if you left enough to pay off the house, your spouse can cry a whole lot better knowing that they have a roof over their head. I mean, not trying to be mean, but that's stressful.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned, I can share that, for families that have made their transition and everything was in order, it was smooth sailing. We walked right into wherever establishments we needed to, handling the paperwork, and we were in and out.
That's it. Like I said, even when my father's his military honors, instead of having to apply to the Veterans Affairs Administration, I was like, "You mean these papers?" They're like, "Yeah, we'll just make a copy." When you have your things in order, it's just like you said, much easier.
Yeah. And it does help with the grieving process because you're not struggling trying to get things in order because it's already laid out. So, word to the wise people. And I thank you for bringing that up, that April is Financial Literacy Month. So, this will be out on the cusp of April. April is coming up. Um, and so, this is right on time, either for
It is.
you watching or for a loved one. And just consider it.
Yeah.
What we're saying today is consider it in the options and availability. If nothing else, plan or make things laid out. It's not the best topic in the world. Let's be honest. It's not. But just having something there, something in writing, something laid out, so at least family members know, so that they don't have or loved ones or caregivers, because not everybody has family. Understood that.
Right.
Friends or somebody know these are your plans, this is what you would want, and have insurance if possible. Just have something there to work with.
Right. Well, thank you for having me. This has been
Yeah,
wonderful.
yes, absolutely. I thank you very much for being here and the wisdom and the knowledge that you dropped here today. And as always, as I say on this channel, let us continue to learn and grow and share together naturally. And until next time, folks, God bless you. I love you. Bye bye for now. Thank you again, Valerie.
Bye.
Bye.